The NBA draft is one of the most exciting nights in all of basketball. You have players fresh out of college finally achieving their lifelong dream of making it to the NBA. Now, for fans, it is equally as exciting as it's a chance for your team to get that young star player, add that missing piece to your championship team, or secure that long-term project who will eventually develop and turn into a star player. But if there's one word I had to describe the NBA draft with, it would be uncertainty. No matter how good your scouting department is, you never know just how hardworking a player is, you never know how confident they are, and you never know how dedicated they are to being the best player they can be. Now, those three words, confident, dedicated, and hardworking, those are three words I would use to describe Boston Celtics shooting guard Jaylen Brown. So, as you could have guessed, today we're going to be talking about Jaylen Brown, one of the best young talents in the NBA, and walking through his basketball journey and how he became one of the bright young stars for the Boston Celtics. Now, Jaylen Brown's NBA journey starts out in Lake Wheeler High School in Georgia, where he was a 5-star recruit with a 96 overall rating, and he was the 4th best player in the country, only behind Ben Simmons, Sky Labrissiere, and Brandon Ingram. And Jaylen had the choice of any college he wanted in the country, and he chose Cal University. And during his freshman year at Cal, he would average 14.6 points per game, 5.4 boards, 2.0 assists on 43, 29, and 65 splits. And during this year, he was Pac-12 All-Freshman Team, Pac-12 All-Rookie of the Year, and Pac-12 All-Conference. And even with that great freshman year, it still wasn't certain if Jaylen would declare for the draft. This game still had some really glaring holes, as during the year, he only shot 31% on jump shots and 29% on threes. Also, one of the major concerns was his passing and his playmaking ability, as during the year, he only had 67 assists compared to 105 turnovers. That was the worst rate for any player in Division I. Now, ultimately, Jaylen, he would declare for the NBA draft due to his raw athletic ability, his downhill driving, his amazing potential, his great mind and his great motor, and his NBA-ready body. And in the ESPN mock drafts, they had Jaylen going as low as 6th to the New Orleans Pelicans. And on draft night, Jaylen Brown says he was very uncertain of where he would fall. He was being told by some teams they would take him with the 4th or 5th pick, and other teams were saying they would try to trade up and snag him at the 3 or 4 spot. Now, luckily for Celtics fans, there was one guy who saw amazing potential, and that was Danny Ainge, who took Jaylen with the 3rd pick. Now, one of the funniest things I saw when doing research for this video is the post-draft comparison for Jaylen Brown by Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose's NBA comparison was Tyreke Evans. And I know draft comparisons, they are hard in the moment, but that comparison has aged really poorly, as Tyreke Evans, he peaked as a rookie, and unfortunately, he's out of the NBA for some off-the-court activities. Now, in Jaylen's rookie year with the Boston Celtics, he was going to a team that had a pretty solid roster. You had Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, Kelly Olynyk, Terry Rozier, and even Amir Johnson. That is a pretty deep team, and minutes for a rookie, they were pretty tough to find. And during this year, Jaylen, he was 8th in the rotation, playing 17.2 minutes per game. And in his rookie year, he would average 6.6 points per game, 2.8 boards, 0.8 assists on 45, 34, and 68 splits. And that season by Jaylen, that would be good enough to earn him an all-rookie team status, but he would finish 8th in the rookie of the year voting behind guys like Malcolm Brogdon, Dario Saric, Buddy Hield, Joel Embiid, Willie Hernan-Gomez, Jamal Murray, and Marquise Chris. Now, like I said before, this Celtics team, they were a pretty solid team, and during the year, they had a 53-29 record, which was the best record in the Eastern Conference. And during the playoffs, Jaylen, he would see his minutes per game average shrink to around 12 a game, but when he actually saw the court and got some decent minutes, from Game 7 of the Wizards series all the way to Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Jaylen, he would average 9.0 points per game, 3.0 boards, 0.8 assists on 59, 20, and 71 splits, and that was while playing only 17 minutes per game. Now looking ahead to Jaylen's sophomore year, he would see his minutes per game average increase from 17 all the way up to 31. He would also get more involved with the offense, and his shot attempts would increase from around 5 per game all the way up to 12. In the Celtics roster this year, they would add guys like Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, Marcus Morris, Aaron Baines, and Daniel Tice. And once again, it was pretty hard to find minutes, and it was pretty hard to find a starting role, but Jaylen, despite that, he increased in points per game, assists, rebounds, field goal percentage, three-point percentage, steals, and blocks. And that was recognized by him finishing 8th in the most improved player voting. And once again, the Celtics team would have a 55-27 record, the second best in the Eastern Conference. And right before the playoffs, superstar Kyrie Irving, and the leader of the team, he would go down with a severe knee injury that would keep him out of the 2018 playoffs. So definitely an unfortunate injury for the Celtics as well as Kyrie, but it kind of was a blessing in disguise as Jaylen now would have a huge role in the offense. And in the first round versus the Bucks, in games 1 through 6, he would average 20.5 points per game that led the team, 9.3 boards, 1.5 assists on 48, 40, and 61 splits. And in this series, he would become the youngest Celtics player to score 30 points in a playoff game. Now, unfortunately for Jaylen, he would suffer a hamstring injury in Game 7 versus the Bucks, and he would miss Game 1 of the next series versus the 76ers. But when Jaylen was healthy in the second round versus Philly, he would average 15.3 points per game, 5.0 boards, 1.3 assists on 54, 50, and 50 splits. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, his production would once again pick up as he would average nearly 20 points per game, 4.9 boards, 1.6 assists on 44, 36, and 76 splits. And this 2018 playoff run gave a huge confidence boost to guys like Jaylen, Tatum, as well as Terry Rozier, and even Marcus Morris. And they were really the underdog story of the 2018 playoffs, as they were not picked by anyone to make the Eastern Conference Finals after Kyrie and Hayward had gone out with injuries. Now, you would think after that 2018 playoff run, all would be great heading into Jaylen's third year, and he would have a great established role in the offense. But unfortunately for him, this would be the worst year of his career, with Hayward as well as Kyrie coming back and taking up a lot of minutes in the rotation. And Jaylen, he would see his minutes per game average, as well as his field goal attempts, his points per game, rebounds, assists, 3-point percentage, and steals all go down to this reduced in minutes as well as shot attempts. And this Boston Celtics team was a massive disappointment as they still won 49 games, but they would end their season with an awful second round exit versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, some Celtics fans, they like to blame Kyrie for all the mistakes of this team, but for me, I see it's a lot of compounding factors that contributed to this team being very disappointing. So, moving on to the 2020 season, Jaylen's fourth year in the NBA, this was the year Jaylen, he would finally take what I would call a leap and break out as one of the best young players in the NBA. And for the Celtics team, they would undergo some major roster changes as Kyrie Irving as well as Al Horford would not be on this team. And they would add free agent Kemba Walker to form a new big three of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba. And like I said earlier, this year for Jaylen was a huge bounce back year, and he really took a huge leap, increasing in almost every stat category across the board, and his defense as well as shooting, it also improved. And this Celtics team with a 48-24 record, one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And the first round they matched up is the Philadelphia 76ers, who were missing Ben Simmons. And in this series, Jaylen, he would average 21.5 points per game, 5.8 boards, 2.5 assists on 45, 35, and 92 splits. And he played some great defense on Tobias Harris as well as Josh Richardson. Now in the second round, Boston will match up against the Toronto Raptors, and in this series, Jaylen once again averaged over 20 points per game, 8.7 boards, 1.7 assists on 43, 28, and 86 splits. And the Celtics win this series in 7 games, setting up an Eastern Conference Finals matchup versus the Miami Heat. Now in this series, Jaylen, he would have his best series of the playoffs, averaging 23.2 points per game, 7.2 boards, 2.8 assists on 55, 50, and 71 splits. And during this series, as well as the 2020 playoffs, Jaylen, he was the most consistent player on both ends of the court every single night. And I think his defense, it was a little overlooked because of how good he was on offense, but throughout the playoffs, he played great defense on guys like Jimmy Butler, Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, Tobias Harris, and Josh Richardson. In the 2021 season, it picked up only 2.5 months after the playoffs ended, and so far, we've seen Jaylen Brown come out on a hot streak, averaging 26.2 points per game, 5.4 boards, 3.3 assists on 55, 41, and 73 splits. Now, at the point I'm making this video, we are only 9 games into the year, but I think those numbers, they will come down a little bit, but Jaylen, I think, can realistically average around 24 to 25 points per game right now at this moment. And the Celtics, they need that 24 and 25 points per game every single night due to Kemba Walker being out with a knee injury. And I think Jaylen being so great so early in the year, that has really ended all the trade talks of him being involved in a possible James Harden deal. And for me, I never liked Jaylen Brown being a package in that deal because Harden, he is 32 years old, and Jaylen just signed a big extension, and Harden only has 2 years left on his deal and a third-year player option that I'm pretty sure he would opt out of if he came to Boston. And I think what Jaylen brings to this team is a real backbone and a really consistent player who gives you 20 to 25 points per game every single night. And I think his defense, compared to his rookie year, where he really only guarded 2s and 3s, compared to now, where he can effectively guard guys from the 1 all the way to the 4, and even the small ball 5 if it's someone like Bam Adebayo. But I think the biggest improvement we've seen from Jaylen is his overall jump shooting, as when he came into the league, he was a spot-up shooter, and he really couldn't create any of his own offense or any of his own shots. But now in 2021, that has completely changed, and Jaylen, he's added step-backs, pull-ups, mid-range, and just a wide variety of shots, and he's really become great at creating his own offense. And if you look at this chart of Jaylen's first 4 years in the NBA and his shooting percentage by distance, you can look at every single year from 2017 all the way to 2020. He basically improves every single year in efficiency. The only real outlier years you have is 2019, where that was just an awful year for the Celtics and an awful year for Jaylen in general. And one of the things he's really improved on is his pull-up jump shot. In 2017 as a rookie, he was only taking 0.9 attempts per game and shooting 26% from the field, compared to 2020, where he's taking 4.1 attempts per game at 37.9%. And if you look at the data from 2017 to 2018, 2019, all the way to 2020, Jaylen increases his volume as well as his shooting percentages. And one thing Jaylen has tremendously improved on is his catch and shoot jump shot. And just like with the pull-ups, Jaylen has taken tremendous strides and increased his volume as well as his efficiency basically every single year. And I think it's a big credit to his work ethic and his determination to get better as a basketball player. So in this video, I showed you guys how Jaylen has improved year to year, and overall, how his game has become more well-rounded, and he's improved his weak points and increased his strengths. And I think some realistic expectations for Jaylen this year is to score 25 points per game, be an all-star, and maybe second team all-defense, and possibly sneak into an all-NBA team. And if you told me that in 2019, only 2 years ago, I would have thought that you were insane. But Jaylen has improved tremendously and rapidly over these past 2 years, and he's quickly blossomed into one of the best young players in the entire NBA. So with all that being said, I hope you guys liked the video, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.